I will not call the president asking him to send troops to Chicago. I've made that clear already. Chicago does not want troops on our streets.
Joining me now with some perspective from the Midwest is the former governor of Illinois, Blagojevich, to help us make sense of this. Governor, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So it seems to me like both Democrats and Republicans think that they are winning on the crime issue. Who's actually winning here?
Well, it's really not a question of who's winning, it's who's losing. Black people are losing. Black people in Chicago are dying because of gun violence and violence in their neighborhoods. We have an opportunity to get the help from the federal government, have the National Guard here and save lives like they're doing in Washington, D.C., and our politicians, our mayor and our governor, are resisting that. I wish this was the NFL, Bacha. I wish we could trade our mayor for the mayor of Washington, D.C., but we're stuck with him, and we're stuck with Pritzker, who incidentally used to work for me. And what really frustrates me is that a year ago, Governor Pritzker, who says we don't want the National Guard here, had no problem calling in the National Guard to protect the Democratic Convention, the big Democratic donors, and the Democratic delegates. But he won't do it to save lives in the neighborhoods that really need help and protection. That's the low-income, high-crime black neighborhoods and brown neighborhoods. 95% of the homicide victims in Chicago are black and brown. 80% are black.
We're actually going to be talking about that at great length very shortly. I want to play you Governor Pritzker's advice to Chicagoans about how they should greet a potential assist from the president. Take a look.
Know your rights. Film things that you see happening in your neighborhoods and your streets and share them with the news media. Authoritarians thrive on your silence. Be loud.
You know, we had this clip, we had a clip of Mayor Johnson urging people to stand up to the National Guard. It seems almost like they're hoping for some sort of confrontation so that they can have some sort of press moment. I mean, what kind of leadership is this?
It's immoral leadership, it's cynical, it's politics over public safety. And here again, it's an example of how the modern Democratic Party says they're on the side of black people, but black lives matter only for votes for this Democratic Party. If they really cared about black people, they would accept the offer to save black lives. Because one thing is very clear. Black lives are being saved in Washington, D.C. because President Trump is sending the National Guard. It may be inconvenient for some neighborhoods, but let's face it, if they were shooting up your neighborhood or my neighborhood, I would want more police, and I certainly want the National Guard to come in and stop the gangbangers from shooting up our streets.
So we have a side-by-side of President Trump's offer and then Governor Pritzker's response. Let's play this and have you respond.
I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him.
I refuse to play a reality game show with Donald Trump again. What I want are the federal dollars that have been promised to Illinois and Chicago for violence prevention programs that have proven to work.
He does have a bit of a point about the prevention programs. There has been federal funding that has been withdrawn from programs that we know prevent crime. What's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction to that is too bad this wasn't a reality TV show and it was Trump's and he could fire this guy Pritzker. The fact of the matter is those violence prevention programs haven't worked. That's why we find ourselves in a place where almost 270 people in Chicago have been murdered this year. And again, 80% of them are black. And here again is an example of how the priorities of government in our state and our city shortchange black people. You know, in June of 1963, President Kennedy, a Democrat president, a great president, federalized the National Guard because another Democratic governor, George Wallace, the segregationist, wouldn't allow two black kids into the University of Alabama. Governor Pritzker reminds me of a modern-day George Wallace, only in this case, he's standing in the way of National Guards that can help the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for black people who are living in bad neighborhoods where gangbangers are destroying property and making those neighborhoods unsafe and dangerous.
So a district court in California just ruled that President Trump exceeded his authority when he sent the National Guard. There's a possibility that he will not be able to do this or that we would have a similar situation in Chicago. What is your best estimate, analysis, advice? What is the best way to fight crime in 2025?
Well, the best way to fight crime in 2025 is to have more police officers, have the backs of the police officers, understanding that there are always some bad apples with every group. But for the most part, 99% of the police officers are dedicated public servants who put their lives on the line to keep us safe. We need more police officers in Chicago. Gangbangers outnumber cops over 100,000 to 12,000. That's nearly 10 to 1. The National Guard would help address that disparity. And I would also say about that court, I've learned the hard way how political courts can be. And we have historical precedent because President Kennedy did just what President Trump is doing in Washington and wants to do here. He federalized the National Guard and used it for a good purpose. And hopefully this is what will happen in the not-too-distant future.
If the answer is more police, why not take the money we would spend on sending the National Guard and just use that to hire more police officers in Chicago?
Well, there's an emergency now. It's happening now that people are getting shot up and killed. We just came out of the most violent weekend in Chicago this year, and the immediacy of the emergency requires action. It'll take time to be able to get more police officers trained, more police officers hired. In fact, there's a shortage of police officers because a lot of them don't want to work as police officers because they feel like Democratic mayors and Democratic governors no longer have their backs. It's an unsafe job inherently, and politically it's become very unsafe for officers who are trying to do their work. But right now we have an emergency. People are being killed, murdered throughout our city, and we have a chance with a president who wants to help, and we have a governor who refuses that help. It's mind-boggling to me that our governor would actually say no. If you can save lives, why would you not take that help? That's the question I would ask Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson.
And just in 30 seconds, I think something that a lot of us are wondering now is why do Democratic voters continue to vote for leadership that, as you correctly point out, endangers them?
Well, that's changing. I think the last election showed that a lot of traditional Democrats have left the Democrat Party, or this particular Democrat Party, and voted for President Trump in large numbers. I call myself a Trumpocrat, a Democrat for Trump. President Trump is changing politics. He's realigned it. And he's now the president of this Republican Party. It's not the corporate country club exclusive party it used to be. It's a party under Trump that's really creating a big tent. It's why more African Americans have voted Republican in this last election than ever since 1960. It's why more Latinos are voted for President Trump than before. It's a different kind of party, Trump's party. It's a party that's looking after working people. The Democratic Party has become a party of the elites and a party of empty talk, focus group-driven politicians like Governor Pritzker, who's just really trying to use this issue because he's playing to the hate that they've created among Democrat voters to hate Trump and be against anything Trump wants to do, even if it's good for their communities.
Wild. Governor Blagojevich, thank you so much for joining us. That was great.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.